Thanks for coming back. We are currently having the discussion about bullies, and we thought that a church would be appropriate, but we want to try to get a nice little contrast on that. I have two of my favorite people are here, Lincoln Rose and Jolyn Ricks. Thanks for coming back on this. Appreciate it. I wanted to do the special OURview discussion about bullies. We've been hearing a lot of that lately, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on that. Start with Lincoln first.
Well, I wasn't bullied much growing up, but in fact, usually I inserted myself between bullies and other people, but I think part of the problem we're having with bullying as it relates to the LGBT community is misuse of faith and Christianity to encourage bullying. And a lot of bullying, I think from a trans perspective, centers around enforcing gender norms. So this culture seems to think it's perfectly fine to harass and beat children into being acceptably male and acceptably female. And a lot of people prop that up by misusing scripture and misusing fundamentalist Christian culture in the United States to enforce that. So at its very root, bullying is an issue of using brute violence to enforce gender norms.
I agree, totally. Yeah, I don't think we realize people joke about, oh, in high school I had so much peer pressure. Well, that is really an epidemic throughout our culture. Being able to, who doesn't go through their day without messages coming at you from advertising and capitalism? There's the trickle-down effect. Trickle-down bullying. When I was in the ex-gay environment, it bordered on being cultic in that it was a very us-them situation. Those homosexuals out there that would, that have succumbed to the lifestyle, they're on their way to hell, but even though we don't seem to be able to become straight, we're still good because we're in the club and you're part of us. And that kind of us and them hierarchy just, there's hardly any kind of steps of separation between that and then someone using violence to enforce the same thing. We could really say that just about any war is bullying gone wild, basically, because, he hit me first and, us versus them, and it just gets blown out of proportion. It becomes a cultural norm.
How does gender fit in regards to people's motive for bullying?
There seems to be gender differences. Boys will bully more directly physically, and girls tend to bully by exclusion and snideness. Although I've seen gay men bully by exclusion and snideness and bitchiness, so I want to say that has something to do with cultural training as well. It was interesting. I didn't really think about it until you two started talking about the ex-gay movement, but perhaps there's some complicitness in bullying with religious movements and ex-gay and healing of homosexuality and silencing bisexual people. You are either gay or you are either straight, and if you're not fitting that, we're going to bully you into being one or the other, into either being good or succumbing to the lifestyle.
Right.
And there is no hope for you to be in between that. And I think sometimes that's where their so-called success stories come from, are silenced bisexual people who have no voice. And then the gay liberation movement doesn't really help with that either, because bisexual and trans people are also bullied in the gay liberation movement to be silenced. So you have people caught in the middle between these two camps who are, well, this isn't me, but I don't really have a voice to find out who I am, so I guess I'm a ex-gay success story, but not really.
Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of people wonder that. And wouldn't it be nice if we could get some professional psychologists and researchers into an XK environment to actually get some facts? But of course, they won't do that. A lot of people have asked whether, well, couldn't a success story just be a bisexual person? And of course, they won't ever exercise that possibility, because then that would mean, oh, wait a minute, then that person doesn't really fit into our neat little, one man, one woman, monogamous for the rest of your life. So they won't even consider that. And that's, in some ways, that's gender bullying. That's saying you've got to be, your genitals have to match a certain kind of attraction and a certain kind of behavior. I mean, do you hear the conformity going on?
Well, it was really funny because I spent so many years as a lesbian, doing the scriptural battle, doing what I call defensive Christianity, where you don't really study the Bible to have a whole relationship with God and to bring yourself into wholeness. You only do it so you can battle back.
Right, fight back, yeah.
And then when I transitioned, this guy came up to me and he was like, it's wrong because men can't wear what women wear and women can't wear what men wear. And after all those years of doing all this battling, I just looked at him and I was like, please don't make me ask you if your wife wears pants. I mean, really, is that all you have?
Yeah, exactly.
He was just like offended that I didn't want to engage. But I'm like, after 7 years of the sexual orientation thing, really, that's all you're bringing to the table? Yeah. Is pants.
But that's why I think the whole It Gets Better campaign has been really effective, because we're not just sitting back and going, oh, we have to fight back, we have to fight back. We're going, no, we're going to be proactive and say, by the way, it gets so much better. And that's what makes it so effective. We're not just retaliating at these things that are coming at us. We're being proactive and celebrating diversity, and that they just don't have any defense against that, thank goodness.
Even though that campaign in itself has some issues. I mean, there's a serious middle-class narrative to it.
Yes, there is. Not mine, but anyway.
Yeah, not mine either. But I did watch the videos, and I do see more the longer the campaign is up there. I've seen a ton of videos in sign language, more people of color taking advantage of it. I've seen a few more trans videos popping up. I have seen more allies. I have to put in a plug for Governor David Patterson's video. I adore it. He said that when he was a kid, he hit a bully upside the head with a lunchbox, and that 40 years later, he's still not sorry about it.
Second question in regards to It Gets Better campaign. Do you think it's working?
I don't think any one campaign can solve all the problems of the universe. But the fact that it's out there, we also have to acknowledge that there is still a significant amount of the population that's not on a computer at all. But I think it really emphasizes the importance and the power of us telling our stories and finding opportunities, not just on a video, but on the street. When you hear it, that's a lot more cutting edge and a lot more risky in some ways. But it's still important all the more to be able and be prepared ahead of time, kind of have your story together so that you can go, when that opportunity comes, you can just put in the right word at the right time, things like that.
I think it is working to a degree. There is no magic pill that will cure homophobia and transphobia and cissexism and heterosupremacy. Nothing is really going to cure that. But it is an example of us developing our own tools to reach out to each other and not being dependent on the dominant culture to open doors for us and say, well, we've thought about it and we think you really are human beings and we've decided that we will give this thing to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think really bullying does at the basic come down to gender expression, because if we think about it, kids are not bullying each other because they came down the hallway for the most part and found you giving head or found you, lip lock with somebody. They're bullying you because you're expressing yourself differently. That's what it comes down to. And I think, honestly, sometimes the gay and lesbian movement lacks language and tools to deal with gender effectively because the mainstream movement has marginalized the trans community so much. So they're missing those tools. And they don't seem to care until it catches them flat-footed. And then they're playing catch-up. And we're standing there going, we knew that. Actually, would you like us to explain to you how that works?
One more quick question. Have you had any kind of story that you wanted to talk about in regards to, being bullied yourself, or if you know a particular, case of, any of your patients who had a similar experience?
I know that there were a couple of times of being bullied as a kid, but I don't know why it didn't stick, or it wasn't really severe, or I don't remember it. Maybe I've just blocked it out. But I knew I was different, and I knew I had to hide that. There must have been a reason why I knew I had to hide that. So I don't really have that. And again, I guess I go back to the whole gender peer pressure. I mean, I have client after client who comes in and they're kind of considering coming out of the closet, and they haven't told their wife yet, and it just seems so enormously hard, no doubt, for them to come out. And what that says to me is peer pressure, and what the things we believe about ourselves, especially when it comes to gender and how things should behave in a certain way, are enormously burdens. They are enormous burdens on our backs. And I'm always wanting to move in a direction of, let's create a world where we don't have to worry about hiding in the first place. Taking those differences that we have, and instead of stigmatizing them, we turn them on their head and we celebrate them. We say there is value because you are different.
I wasn't bullied much, and I inserted myself in between bullies and other people, but I think when I came out in college as gay and Christian, and my grandmother helped me integrate that, other people who I had gone to high school with, and there was a sudden transition from being somebody who, could be counted on to bring a good word from the Lord and do all this stuff, to being like dirt that you want to step around to avoid getting on your shoes. And I think that's a form of bullying, when people are so convinced that you are wrong that they just completely write you off. And I also think what you were saying about celebrating differences, my family is old school union, and there's this concept that an injury to one is an injury to all. And our movement has gotten so much into political expediency. We need to pass this law, so you all wait over here and we'll come back. We need to do this, so we need to talk about marriage, so race stuff has to wait, and we need to do this, so the women need to be quiet about what they need. But in union organizing, to really do it well, you have to stand up for the right of your crippled, crazy employee. Your most marginalized employee has to have union protection, because when your most marginalized employee has union protection, then the job is easier for your straight white male employees.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson we still have not learned yet as a movement.
I think if we would say more, marriage equality is not just for us. This is going to bring more justice and equality for everyone. That creates a bridge even to the people that are against us. If we can get the point across that celebrating diversity is not just this gay thing over here in the corner, but everybody gets to be themselves, I think that really helps bridge some gaps.
Well, that is a good way to end. And thank you again for joining us again. I appreciate it. And every time I call to say, come on to the show, you guys, you always do it. I appreciate that. Again, this is MK Scott. I will be right back with a final word. And that is a wrap from a special edition of OURview regarding bullying, gender, and the church. I would like to thank my guests, Jolyn Ricks, Lincoln Rose, Jesse Archer, and Joseph Finity. I would like to also note to please support the Trevor Project and Glisson's Safe Space campaign. So long for now.
If you can't see through the darkness, use my light, I'll be fine. This is all familiar, because I've been there. One foot in front of the other, everything will be okay, please believe me. Stay strong and you will save. These tears will disappear like all the ones who've done you wrong. Give it a moment and take a breath. This too shall all be gone. We will make it. We're stronger. For all the pain they put us through, words won't hurt us no longer. Our dreams will be what get us through. And when it feels like your whole world is ending, remember me and all the other ones saying it gets better, believe me. It gets better, you'll see. Soon one day you will find love, and look back at when you were young and only see the good days, where there's no one in your way. Butterflies, you'll fall in love, get on one knee with a ring, and then you two will be married, and maybe then start a family. These tears will disappear like all the ones who've done you wrong. Give it a moment and take